Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining. My name is Steve Sloan. I'm the head of programs here at Claw Social Leadership. For the next half an hour, I'm going to be kind of sharing with you some information about the Social Leaders Hastings program. I'm joined by Steve from HVA, and Katie is an alumni from one of our programs. We're going to be hearing from both of them over the next half an hour. But before we get started, a bit of an agenda, what to expect over the next 30 minutes. Going to be sharing with you some information about who Claw Social Leadership actually is, if you haven't heard of us before, and what we do, what we believe. Of course, what we're all here for, to find out some information about the Social Leaders Hastings program. And then there is, of course, an opportunity at the end for you to ask any questions that you have about the program that are still outstanding. Pop them in the chat and we'll get to them at the very end. So that is kind of what to expect over the next half an hour. So starting here with our beliefs at Claw Social Leadership, we have 4 core beliefs that really run through all of the programs that we do. The first one being that leadership development is a lifelong journey. Now, we don't see leadership development programs like this as a kind of tick box exercise. You do the program and you're good. We kind of see this as a stepping stone, a springboard into your continued development and learning journey after you've finished the program. There are new things to learn and kind of get your head around every year, every month. There's kind of new frameworks, theories, challenges to respond to in the leadership landscape. So we really do encourage kind of seeing learning as something that is lifelong. Secondly, we believe that everyone is a leader, so we take quite a democratic approach to leadership development, decentralized. We feel that leadership development isn't just reserved for people with very senior roles. That's often a trope of leadership development programs being just reserved for people who are operating at quite senior levels. A lot of our programs really are for everybody, no matter where you sit in an organization. Everybody is contributing towards the impact of an organization and the mission of an organization. And we recognize that by believing that everyone is a leader. Thirdly, we believe that good leadership is essential for social change, and that really speaks to the fact that, like I was saying previously, there are lots of challenges confronting us on a global, national, and a local scale. In order to combat some of those challenges, it's really important that we kind of give and receive really good quality leadership development training. And then the fourth and final belief that we have, and I think is the most important and something that I see on all our programs being the most positive impact, is the fact that leaders grow leaders. So all of our programs adopt a cohort model. So there'll be 25 participants on this program. And the magic really happens in bringing together 25 people who may not have met before, but are all working towards a similar goal in the same area. And the collective knowledge and power that 25 individuals have in a room is truly something to behold sometimes, and a major benefit of all programs. And it'll be no different with this program. Now, to speak about our funder and partners for this program, we are fortunate to be receiving funding from the Henry Smith Foundation in order to fund this free opportunity. In Hastings, not Cornwall. We do have Cornwall there, as this is one of 3 programs that we're running in Cornwall, Hastings, and West Wales. So this is an excellent opportunity to bring some leadership development programs to these 3 different areas of the country. And we're fortunate to have been able to partner with HVA in designing some of this. And we're joined by Steve from HVA, who's gonna speak to you now about our partnership and the program.
Yeah, I'm going to say a couple of things. First of all, just to say how pleased we are that through our dialogue, Hastings is the place that Claw Social and HVA have gravitated this program around. I think Hastings has a really thriving and dynamic voluntary and community sector, and leadership is clearly present in a lot of different forms, in a lot of different places. And I think if you wanted an illustration of that, I would point to the fact that Hastings, in its response to COVID, it was configured at a community level. So all of the responses bringing together organisations, the food bank, the advice sector was led by the voluntary sector with leadership across the piece and independently evaluated as being amongst the strongest responses anywhere in the country, which is really pleasing. So the dynamism and the skill is there. The other thing which I wanted to say is that as well as delivering a functional learning programme, we've wanted for some time to deliver an experiential and developmental aspect for leaders in Hastings, and that's why we're particularly pleased with the partnership. And that I don't think there's ever a point where you press a button and say we're now live, but I think we may well be with this first webinar actually at the point to say this is now a real thing. The other thing which I wanted to say was this is quite a grounded development, because we know through reports like Facing the Future that there is clearly a need and demand for this. We also know through some of our work with Hastings Community Network and the sessions that have been run on well-being in terms of leadership and supporting a team of people, how much we need to be doing this. But the final thing I want to say, as well as welcoming the opportunity and Clause Social as our partner, I just really wanted to say something about the way in which we've reached this point, which has been very strong on involvement and co-design. There's been a number of opportunities for local partners and potential participants to shape the programme. And I just wanted to say and acknowledge that it's the way that's been approached, which is what we feel is a real strong indicator for a really successful programme in the future. So I welcome everyone who stepped forward as being interested. There may be people outside of this room who may be interested as well, so we can all spread the word. But I really welcome the fact that this is now a real thing moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, and thanks for joining. So to now take you through what the program looks like, here's a kind of journey for the program. And these aren't in chronological order, but it gives you a good sense of what's included in the program. So the program is 5 months in duration. It runs from January next year until June. And it starts and ends with a welcome session and a celebration session. And those are 2 in-person sessions. The welcome session, of course, is just an opportunity for you to meet each other, to meet the facilitators, to meet the members of our team, and just kind of get your feet under the table, understand what the program entails and what to expect. You'll then begin the program doing our Discover course. Now, the Discover course is a kind of 4-week introduction into how we think about social leadership. So you'll kind of go through some self-guided online modules for 4 weeks, where you'll do those, and then you'll have 2 workshops that will be online that supplement your learning. So you'll attend those workshops and to consolidate your learning, but also discuss these new ideas with your peers in the cohort. There is included action learning on the program. Action learning is best described, for those of you who haven't heard of it before, as kind of peer coaching in small groups. And it utilizes the power of open questions to help individuals come to action plans for quite complex challenges. It's a huge part of all our programs, incredibly impactful part of the program as well. And as a facilitator, it's something I really love facilitating. There is also a residential component, so there'll be a 2-day, 1-night stay at a location that's to be confirmed at the moment. And within that residential, there'll be kind of 2 learning days. The first of which you'll be looking at Luminous Spark, which is a psychometric profiling tool, which kind of breaks away from your classic psychometric testing tools like Myers-Briggs. It's probably the most well-known one that is very good at putting people into boxes, assigning you a jumble of letters above you. But Luminous Spark kind of portrays your personality on a bit more of a spectrum. So you'll complete that survey independently, and then you'll have a kind of half-day workshop which is led by a facilitator to unpack the contents of your portrait, and really kind of discover what it means for you and your leadership. There is then on the second day of the residential, some time put towards those learning sessions there. So I'll tell you a bit more about the themes of the learning sessions, but there will be on day 2 a learning session that's all kind of around strategy that will be led by an external facilitator. There is coaching included on the program as well. So you will have 3 one-hour coaching sessions. Our coaches are all very experienced working with leaders that operate in the social sector, so very well versed in understanding of the challenges and constraints of leaders operating in the sector. That is a kind of a run through of the different components. It is also worth mentioning that the program here is accredited by the Institute of Leadership. So what that means, once you complete the program, you'll receive an accreditation from the institute there. It is accredited to an associate level. So once you complete, you'll be given some post-nominals, which is basically some fancy letters after your name that you can put on LinkedIn or wherever you want to, in kind of recognition of you completing this program. And you also gain 1 year's access to their learning platform where you can continue that learning, which we encourage. Some of the key learning themes that I briefly just mentioned, and these were the result of some co-design sessions and thinking with HVA and Steve in particular to think about what are some of the key things that are important to social leaders in Hastings. So throughout the program, there will be learning sessions that are dedicated to tackling each of these different themes here. I'm now going to introduce you to Katie Cowie. Katie is an alumni for our Social Leaders Northeast program. She was involved in the program that was very similar to the one that we're sharing information about here today. I'm going to pass you over to Katie now, and she'll tell you a bit about her experience on her program. Katie, welcome. Great to have you. I'm going to pass over to you.
Thanks so much, Steve. Yeah, so I was fortunate to be part of the Northeast contingent and going on the Emerging Leaders training. I kind of couldn't believe that I could be eligible to be part of something like this at the beginning, and it was a real moment of pride. What I'll say is lean into it, because what you get out at the end of it, if nothing else, which is still massively significant, is a peer network, a support of people that want better, that hope for better, that all think, all think very much aligned in terms of how do we improve services for people. And that network, we know that sometimes funders can be quite divisive and break down some of the ways in which we work together collectively. So being able to have a bunch of people in the room that are all in this leadership space, and you can genuinely lean on each other through problem solving. I saw it multiple times in the sessions throughout, people identifying challenges, another person saying, well, I know somebody, or I can do that in that space for you, and being able to unlock opportunities that otherwise that they wouldn't have had. So I think that attending those sessions is really helpful, and leaning into some of the action learning. So there's cover your ears, Steve and Steve, but if you wanted to do a short track version, because you can go back to the portal afterwards, there's some activities that were actually like, this is like a quick win. Do this activity. It's going to create some really good practice around reflective practice. It's really easy to get caught up in the doing of the doing, and be fighting the good fight, and actually not step back and think, actually in that more strategic lens, what are the blockers, what are the barriers, and how do I overcome this? So that was really, really great experience for me doing some of those activities, and then going back and navigating to some of the podcasts and things like that that are in there. And then the Luminous Spark, Steve touched on that, but by that point, as a group, you'll all kind of sit back and laugh a little bit when the results come in, because you'll have known each other for a while then. So a big part of the leadership, looking at us like well-being and leaders, obviously sometimes, it can feel like the weight of the world can sit with you, and that these challenges sit on your shoulders, and we're all very good at not putting ourselves first and not prioritizing ourselves. So one of the key things is kind of know yourself, be yourself, and look after yourself. And ultimately, that will help you sustain yourself and looking after yourself to be able to drive the change that you want to see in your respective areas. And so by that point, you've done a lot of sharing with each other about knowing yourself, being yourself, and looking after yourself. I think about 2/3 of us have ended up being diagnosed as neurodivergent as a result of that exploratory process. But it was great to be able to lean into things that maybe people had perceived as weaknesses or not necessarily what they'd assumed as a leadership quality. Luminous Sparks really lifts out the different types of leaderships and the different strengths, and in leading into what you naturally bring to the table, that is how you'll ultimately make most of a difference. Because what I've seen now in applying that in kind of in practice since graduating is that ultimately when you show up and you are authentically yourself, you drive more connections, you drive more opportunity, because you're not trying to be anything that you're not, and you're leaning into the strengths that you bring, and also have a really grounded awareness of the things that you don't bring to the table, but thinking wider in terms of your organization, who does bring that, and leaning into that, so that you're not kind of caught in the trap of, well, I've got to do everything because if I don't do it, it's not going to get done right. A ball might drop and then catastrophe might happen. So it gives you that kind of space to sit back and think about your wider team as well, and who you can lean on for different areas. Really happy to answer any questions about the programme and what my experience was. I think my hindsight looking back, I think I wish I'd have delved in with a bit more like gusto at the very beginning, because in reality, by the middle of it, I went, oh, this is why we're all in this. And I could really start to see the benefits of it. But maybe I could have started to experience some of the benefits of being part of it at the beginning if I hadn't done the whole, oh, well, it is 2 hours. This is half a day that it's good. Can I really give up that a level of time? Should I really commit that in the here and now? But the committing in the here and now then does pay off in the longer term in terms of what you can get from it. And you don't get those frustrating, sometimes we locally attend things where we're all aligned, and then we get caught up in the why we can't do it. Those things, naturally, I think because everyone's driven towards the bigger picture, it's much more solutions focused within the kind of peer network, and definitely create a WhatsApp group so you can all remind each other of the homework that you've potentially missed between lessons. That's the top tip.
Excellent. Thanks, Katie, and thanks for sharing all of that. Katie's going to be around till the end, so if you've got any questions for her, she's here to answer them. And yeah, I just wanted to touch on something that Katie was saying there. This program and all our programs are really good at centering you as a leader and shining a light on you, and helping support people in finding out who they want to be as a leader. We kind of pride ourselves in having an approach that doesn't say, here's an image of the leader that we want you to be. We kind of give you the tools to help you go on that journey, like kind of Katie was alluding to there. Got a few more slides, if you'll bear with me, and then we can get stuck into some questions. So in terms of application criteria and who it's for, this program is aimed at emerging leaders. That can be individuals working on a freelance basis. Doesn't matter if you're in kind of fixed term contract or a permanent role, full-time, part-time, or a volunteer. As long as you're kind of working towards social purpose in that sort of space, you're very welcome to join the program. And that can include all these different formations of organizations as well. So charities, social enterprises, CICs, and everything else that I haven't included there. We have 25 places available on this program. And in terms of a time commitment that we'd expect from participants on the program, it's difficult to give a kind of week by week, this is how long you need to dedicate towards the program, because it can fluctuate, and it isn't easy to give this number of hours per week, but we would say it's about a 5-day commitment in total. And then lastly there, a kind of loose application criteria is just having an interest in wanting to use your leadership skills and develop your leadership skills and knowledge to help make your organization a better place, to help make your local area a better place, and perhaps even the country and the world. So any questions on any of those pieces of criteria there? We're contactable by email. You can give us a call. I'm very happy to have individual conversations if you feel like you've got any questions about where you fit in with your situation. So some key dates for you to scribble down with regards to the program. So applications are open at the moment, so you're very welcome to apply. And they will close on Sunday, the 30th of November at midnight. We will then take time to moderate the applications that we've received and aim to get back to people with the outcome of their application by Tuesday, the 16th of December. And then once we've kind of confirmed who will be joining us on the program, we'll then give detailed timings to successful applicants to help you support your planning. So that's all the information. Thank you very much for your attention and for listening. The floor is now very much open for any questions that you might have. So feel free to unmute. If you're unable to unmute, feel free to put your question in the chat.
May I ask a question, please?
Of course, Jen.
Could you tell me a little bit about the actual application process? I mean, I'm assuming there's some kind of form. How complex is that? What's you asking on it?
So the application form asks for some kind of key contact information about you. So all the normal stuff that you'd expect there. There's then asks for some information about your job role, the organization, the size of the organization you work for. There's then 2 longer form questions that ask why you want to join the program and what you want to get out of it. So are there any particular skills or pieces of knowledge that you want to gain from the program? There's space for you to write about that there. I would say the application form will probably take around half an hour to 45 minutes. And I definitely would encourage you to kind of, give the application a good shot and do try to develop your responses to the questions as much as you can. If you would prefer not to submit a written application, you can get in touch with us and we can explore other options, videos, audio recordings for your application submission.
Thank you.
No worries.
Steve, can I follow up on the application? Is there you said about a kind of moderation process for it. Is there actually a kind of a scoring system? Is that kind of transparent, or is it kind of a comparative style piece of work?
I can tell you a bit about the moderation system. So we kind of assess applications based on the kind of commitment to the sector, commitment to the organization and the work, and kind of the general quality of the application. We give ratings from 1 to 5 on each of those 3 criteria, and then we kind of take an average of all 3 of those to then get our list of the top 25 applications.
That's perfect. Thanks, Steve.
Worries.
May I ask a quick question, which is about the kind of work that we'll actually be doing? I know it's hard to give a hard and fast exact time frame because everybody works differently, but what kind of homework can we expect to have to do?
Yeah, so on all of our programs, we do try to limit the amount of stuff we're sending you away to do. However, with the Discover component that I mentioned that comes at the beginning of the program, it's kind of 4 weeks long. That is kind of the only part of the program where we kind of ask you to go away a week at a time, look at a module and spend maybe an hour and a half looking at the resources on there, doing a bit of self-guided learning to then bring that to the Discover workshops. Everything else on the program is very much kind of turn up on the day, no preparation needed. I can see Katie's wants to come in, so Katie, go ahead.
Yeah, I just supposed to reiterate what Steve had said. It was very much at the beginning. There was the it was more independent learning to then bring to the sessions, but that then tapered off. But obviously you got more out of the sessions if you had done that in between bit. But the cheat was to do the activity.
Thanks, Katie. Didn't hear that. Great.
So can I just confirm there's no written work that needs to be undertaken by anybody that we put forward for this programme?
So do you mean like assignments, kind of homework, that sort of
Yeah,
thing?
absolutely. So I'm an adult educator, so we're a City and Guilds and AQA centre. So I do a lot of marking and moderating and that sort of stuff for internal quality assurance and that. Is there anything that's written, and if so, are there criteria that you need to fulfil to meet the level? And also, what comparative level in an educational institute does it sit across? Is it a level 3, sort of like A level, or?
Yeah, it's not at that kind of level. So there's no coursework, there's no homework, there's nothing that is submitted or assessed and fed back on. Program is very much come to the kind of sessions that are outlined, and you'll receive the accreditation from the Institute of Leadership. The kind of level of accreditation that we have isn't matched with kind of any formal qualifications.
Okay, all right. So for sorry, just generic questions. It says that there is a 2-day residential with a 1-night stay. So what if people are unable to stay overnight due to care commitments?
Yeah,
I didn't stay
nice.
because of that reason.
I'm
Jane.
sorry.
I didn't stay because of that very reason. I couldn't
Okay.
stay because of care commitments, and there was a few of us as well that were in the
Okay,
same.
all right. That's lovely. Thank you.
Yes,
That's my questions. Thank you very much.
no worries. And it's worth mentioning with the residential, we do send out an RSVP just to say, can you come? Can you not come? And that's really kind of to reserve you overnight accommodation. It's also worth mentioning that on the program, we do have a travel and care assistance bursary that participants can apply for to support with travel costs and care costs as well, to enable you to attend program sessions.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Emma, I can see your question in the chat around moderating criteria. So that was kind of look at commitment to the sector, commitment to the program, kind of also a general criteria for your application quality as well. Dates and times, we don't have anything specific or locked in yet. We are looking to keep everything on one day. We've kind of confirmed a full program facilitator to hold the program. That's looking like it might be Tuesday for all the sessions at the moment, but that is, of course, to be confirmed. And like I said, full details will be given to successful applicants to support on the planning in December. And I will put my email address in the chat. Any other questions from anyone before we wrap things up?
Steve, can I just ask one last question? Is there any, and this might actually go to HVA Steve as well, is there any kind of legacy planning for people who are on the course? So if we're all from we're all from the Hastings area, is there something structured that sits in there for kind of a peer support network that follows afterwards? Or is that something that maybe gets picked up more informally?
I think a bit of both. I think where we would want to be doing is that we would want to be working with participants about what they feel that legacy should look like from their perspective, rather than say it looks like this. But certainly the trick to a lot of the programming is the what happens next and how people get supported into trying, learning and reflecting post-program. And I think part of the reason that Jan, myself and Kim are collaborating on this programme from HVA's end is that we don't see it as an integral thing in and of itself. We see this as being a springboard to be developing other things on the back of it, really. So, but I think what we'd want to do is to see that as a bit of co-design, that maybe we can devote a session as part of the programme to reflecting that when everyone's appointed, known, and together in the same room. But I absolutely take the point you're making.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think it's one of those that as long as there's kind of a commitment to some sort of legacy, then that's great. It doesn't need to have a fully formed plan at the end of it, does it? So yeah, that's great. Thanks, Steve.
Great. Well, if there's no more questions, it's just a thank you for joining. Any questions that you have emerging after this, I've put our email address that you can contact us on in the chat. There's also a link to the webpage there for you to apply. Katie, thanks for joining, sharing your wisdom on the programme, and to Steve and Jan from HVA as well. Lovely to meet you all, and hopefully connect with you soon. Thanks so much.
Yeah, bye.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.